Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition and TSR, and why the TSR relaunch of the TSR company turned into Tears and Flames so fast. Alright, so one, if there's ever a time where you see me, where there's a major thing happening adjacent to Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm not talking about it, usually it means I'm thinking about what's going on, right? Like, there's great, like, nerd immersion. I would love for my channel to be as great as his channel. One of the things that his channel is going to be better than mine generally, for a host of reasons. The biggest one is just time, right? He invests a lot of time and energy into his channel. I'm limited in the amount of time that I can give to my channel. I have a beautiful wife and 4 kids and a full-time job, and those are my priorities. This comes last. Be seeing every single one of those things, right? And so, and I'm almost certain, and that's why a lot of times I'd love to do more, but this is, I only have a limited amount of time. So with that said, this whole TSR thing, boy, did it turn into Tears and Flames quick. So TSR was like, we're coming back and we're relaunching TSR, the old company that put out Dungeons and Dragons, and Twitter just beat TSR into the ground so fast, they just eviscerated them in a week. I don't even think it was 3 days before their launch where there was major calls for them, people were reaching out to Gen Con and saying, we want to make sure that TSR has no panels, no booth, no presence at Gen Con, and if they do, we won't be there, right? Multiple companies and commenters and panelists being like, we don't want to see this. We want them deplatformed before the week's out, before even 7 suns close on their announcement. We want them deplatformed, right? So it just burst into flames almost on impact, right? It was just it went so bad so fast. Why did the TSR thing go so bad so fast? So one, I was looking at it and I was like, I know this is going to go wrong, but I can barely I can't put in my head which reason is going to go wrong first. All right, so I'll tell you why I think the TSR company debacle happened so fast and why that company was essentially canceled right out of the gate. The reason why, in my opinion, is it was old people running a company without millennials and Gen Zs interpreting what they were saying. So, a perfect example of this is right now, I just listened to Conan O'Brien is doing he's shutting down his show and he's going to open up a new show on HBO Max. And so he's having a whole bunch of guests come in, and Martin Short came on. Martin Short's an old grognard, right? That dude's old school comedy. He's literally 70 years old, I think. 60, 70 years old. I think he's easily 70 years old, right? He said, hey, come watch my new show, right? And his new show isn't him just squawking about stuff, right? You know what he invited people to? He said, come watch my new show, and it's going to be me and Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez is like a Gen Z or a millennial, right? What on earth is Selena Gomez going to be there for? Well, she's going to be there to say, Martin, you can't say that anymore, right? And old people should not be running companies without massive input, from young people who can help them convert their current language to woke speech and safe speech and current speech, right? Because at best, people are going to think you're irrelevant. At worst, they're going to think you're words that are way more worse than irrelevant, right? So you got to be very, very, very careful about what you're saying now. And I don't think, and so Ernest Gary Gygax and Jim Ward, they're like, we're going to bring back the old TSR. And they didn't have their millennial Gen Z translators. And so everything they said was considered far worse than what it was. Or there just should have been somebody in the room to say, listen, I know you think this old thing, but the world ain't like that anymore. And you need to shut your mouth on that subject, right? And you need to change your thinking, right? And because they were arrogant, right, and thought that everything they said was just going to turn into gold because every grognard in the world was going to, perk up like a meerkat and buy their products and everything would be good and they could ignore whoever they wanted. You can't, man. You cannot ignore Twitter. You better know what you're doing. You launch a TTPRG today, you better have an answer to 50 questions ready. And really, you should be answering those questions before they're even asked, right? And they didn't even know what the questions were going to be because they hadn't had the world translated by a young person who speaks current language, right? You think current, like, do you understand what Gen Z English is? What millennial English is? It's different than Boomer English. I'll tell you that, right? And you don't even know the terms, right? Go off, King. All right. So with that, that's why I think it went south so fast. Why do you think it went south so fast? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.